Welcome to She Leads Collective, a talk show where we turn the spotlight inward onto the brilliant minds behind leadership and coaching. Next one in my line is no one other than Legacy in Motion, our Susan Minaya. So, the theme for Susan Minaya is wisdom, alignment, and authentic leadership. So, as I introduce Susan, Susan Minaya is an exemplary leader who beautifully balances her personal and professional life. Whether she's cheering on her family through shared adventures or finding her joy in quilting, gardening, and time she very well spends with her precious granddaughters. Susan brings the same grace and intentionality to every role she plays. I love her podcast as it's most special because of the dynamic she shares with her son in terms of knowledge, insights, and experience on the platform. So today I am honored to welcome and introduce you to the leader who have spent decades shaping learning and leadership. As a COO and Chief Learning Strategist at Minaya Learning Solutions, Susan empowers Fortune 500 companies through strategic coaching and lasting impact. Welcome, Susie to her grandchildren, Sushi to another grandchild, and our Susan. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, Husna. Thank you.
Well, Susan, so let's dive into your segment when I would say leading through evolution. So let's begin with the lens of time, growth, and leadership shifts. So, Susan, what has been the hallmark of outstanding leadership for centuries and what has changed over time?
Hmm. Well, for me, I think the hallmark has been communication, right? It's foundational. Excellent leadership, you'll find excellent communication because it's just fundamental. It's like the root of everything where leadership is concerned. And then I think about what's changed over time is I think that mentality of leader as power and authority. I think we've kind of come into an age where we're seeing leadership more like human-centered leadership, more people-focused, more more authentic, I think, to the individual. And I think that's what I notice about what's changed over time.
Well, definitely communication, a big way to look at it for sure. And yeah, the gap, whatever we had, is coming up now for whatever insights. Definitely. Great, great. So let's move on to the next one. What's one habit or belief you think new leaders need to let go of when you're leading with real purpose?
Hmm. That they need to let go of when they lead with real purpose. To lead with real purpose, you think? Um, when I think about it from a context of a new leader, it's kind of like impression of what a leader is, right? So one thing is that going back to the power and authority, I'm a leader, I'm in charge, I have all of this, that I'm responsible for. I have to have all the answers, I have to know everything. And I think really letting go of that and becoming more vulnerable and recognizing, I think other people have said it today, that leaders don't have to have all the answers, right? If we're good leaders and smart leaders, we turn to our people to help us identify the best solutions and the best way forward. So I think for me, that would be the biggest thing, because I think it's that mentality of what I should be versus what I am authentically, and how I could lead in the best way as I am as a leader. Those two things can turn them sideways if they don't pay attention to their own authentic self.
There are a lot of there are a lot of values which comes out of you, Susan, when you talk like that. That's really awesome, and I can totally resonate that with you. So as we go on to our next segment, coach's reflection. I'm sorry, I missed it. We have strategy, systems, and human lens. I'm so sorry. Let's
That's
move on to the next one. You help connect performance, learning, and leadership. So let's explore that. Susan, what is the first thing you do when you start working with a new company? Figure out how things work.
I love that part of interacting with new clients that I'm working with because I ask a lot of questions. And, and not to sound derogatory, but kind of just curiosity. I mean, like being the dumbest person in the room because like, help me understand your world. How does this work? I always love when I start out engagements with clients and whether it's for for if it's coaching even, but like even in a consultative standpoint, if I'm doing learning strategy work, it's like the art of the question. And really, when you come from curiosity, people start opening up, you start learning. You also build trust with people. I found so many times, like, it's just nobody often takes the time to just really be curious and ask questions of other people. How do you do this? Why do you do this? What's working for you? What's not working for you? So these are just very simple things. And I think often even as coaches, we're not there to lead them, the witness, if you will, right? They're there to help them explore. And I think those powerful questions are just as appropriate for coaching as they are for consulting with clients. So that's really how I find out the way things work because it's amazing what people share, when they feel like you're really listening to them.
Hmm. Thank you, Susan. What happens when strategy and culture don't match? How can leaders start fixing that?
Oh. Well, you have to start asking hard questions. So why isn't our culture and our strategy matching, right? And a lot of times it could be because we built a strategy that didn't align with our values necessarily or our mission that we have. And so, there's that misalignment there. When we say, why isn't the strategy executing? How are we showing up with what we're doing to achieve that strategy? Are we walking the walk and talking the talk? Or are we doing one thing and saying another? So when you get that confluence of those two things together where they don't work together, they're incongruent. I think that you have to say there's a disconnect, and it usually boils down to us not aligning with what we said we care about or we said that we value.
Hmm.
How can
I
they
would have
start
had.
fixing it? I think, I'm sorry, Husna, but if when you talk about how can we fix it, I think it really has to do with just taking time to analyze that, like, and really reflect on it. They have things like, employee engagement surveys. They have all kinds of data points that they can go to, but also it's just having a conversation. We go back to this, the importance of communication. Why isn't this working? Even as leaders, being able to sit down with their team and go, I'm just sensing we're not doing well. So what's going on? Let's just have an honest conversation about what's working, what's not working, right? What do we need to stop doing, and what do we need to do differently so that we can change the way things are.
Mhm. Basically, the management and the team need to be in alignment before you propose a strategy and come up with how we can start fixing that. I guess that could create some space to move up.
Yeah, well, anytime you're creating any type of strategy, it better be aligned with your culture and your values and your mission and the things that you want to achieve. These things have to be aligned or else they're going to go askew.
Definitely. Alrighty, moving to our next segment, Susan. The coach's reflection. Let's shift into your coaching lens. With all your experience, what still surprises or excites you during coaching conversations?
I would have to say, for me personally, what excites me is how human we all are, right? So, in coaching conversations, when you sit down and start dialoguing with someone, especially at maybe executive levels, and you see them very kind of guarded when you start out, they're like, oh, I don't know if I really need this, I don't want to do it. And then next thing you know, we start talking about different things. It's like, okay, so maybe you don't need it. But then somewhere in the conversation, you find a shift. They start, I think, trusting you, that you're there with your confidentiality in a very important way that they feel like that they can open up. But just watching them kind of peel away the bravado about I'm a leader is always fascinates me, because I feel like when that happens, they are coachable, right? We can work with them and we can help them, kind of accomplish really the goals that they have. But really, it always reminds me how human we all are, whether you're the most powerful person in the world or whether you're like, whatever, just the person that doesn't have all that influence and power. I don't know. It's humanity. That's what I am amazed about.
Susan, after some serious questions around, let's move into your fun element of rapid fire. Are you ready?
Do you have a buzzer?
Sure, Susan, anything for you. Alrighty, let's wrap up with a few rapid fire questions, which are simple, powerful, and all yours. So, Susan, what belief has always guided the way you lead?
Trust your gut.
That's a very good one. What's one question you ask yourself before any high impact conversations?
They, me, we. What do they want? What do I want? What could we do together? Where's the
Of course,
common?
that I can definitely aid Susan, because Susan believes in collaboration and compatibility of working together with the team. Awesome. What legacy do you hope people feel through your work, not just see it?
Hope people feel through your work that that they were understood. That they felt like they were in a safe place to be able to explore the things that they're going through or they're trying to resolve for, and that allowed them to kind of get the breakthroughs that they need to be able to achieve their coaching goals.
Sure. Thank you, Susan. It was really awesome having you and interviewing you a little bit so that our audience know our Susan better. So, as I come to a close, I would say Susan brings strategic intelligence and soulful leadership to every conversation. She just doesn't coach, but she curates our wisdom for the next generations to come. Thank you, Susan, for being a compass in this collective space. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you, Husna.